I've literally waffled on for like 12 minutes straight about how much I'm enjoying this book. Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten, and today we are doing a test episode for the start of a new series, reading new cozy releases. Now the cozy releases can be across any genre, it doesn't have to be a specific genre. It could be cozy sci-fi, cozy fantasy, cozy murder mystery, cozy romance, you know, anything, any genre, as long as it's a cozy book and it's a new release. That's what these videos are about. Going forward from these videos, it will be a month-long vlog where we read 3 new cozy releases. So currently in the month of August, I'm in the middle of reading the 3, and you will see that video in September is the idea. For this video, we are reading a cozy release that came out in July. Now I did have 3 lined up. Unfortunately, with how busy I've been, I didn't get a chance to do all 3, so I left Discord to vote. The 3 book choices, I actually own 2 of them. One of them is like a cozy romance by India Holton, which is the Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Turst, which is a cozy fantasy. And then we had Puzzle Me a Murder, I think that's the title of it, which is a cozy murder mystery, which I have actually ordered, but I don't think it's going to arrive until next week. The book that won by a massive landslide is The Spell Shop, and I'm really excited for it. I mean, look at this cover. It is absolutely adorable, and right here, I don't know if it's going to focus, look at this little cat with wings. Isn't it cute? I actually don't know anything about this book apart from the fact that it's a cozy fantasy, and I don't want to know anything about this book. I'm going into it just for all the cozy vibe, the fact that this cover is absolutely gorgeous. From the few reviews that I've been trying to stay away from, but the general consensus is that this is a really good book. Now I have read a book from Sarah Beth Turst before. I read, is it The Queens of what? Oh, it doesn't have it in here. That's surprising. Yeah, the Queens of Renthia series. I read the first book in that series and I liked it enough, but not enough to continue on with it. So I'm really intrigued to see what is going to happen with a cozy fantasy setting. And all I know is what it says on the back here is a faraway island, a secret spell shop, and an unexpected romance, which, yes please. It sounds freaking amazing. So yeah, I'm going to be reading this over the next 2 days. It's not too long a book. It's just under 400 pages. So I definitely think I can do it because I am off the next 2 days. Definitely think I can get this one done, but I'm just really excited for it. I've been really looking forward to doing this video, and I just think it's going to be really fun to do. And let me know what you think of this idea. If you like this idea of the video, it is going to be vlog style format, but just reading 3, or in this case 1, new cozy release, giving you my thoughts and feelings, and hopefully it will tell you whether you should be picking up these books. That's the idea. And again, please give me all your feedback. I really do appreciate that, especially when I'm trying something new. As much as I'm super excited for it, I would just want to make sure it's still something you're interested in. It could be that I tweak things here and there if you would rather. Just let me know. I do appreciate it. That's it for this intro. Nice and short because I don't know what this book is about. We're going to get cracking with reading this book and go from there. Like, I'm so excited. I'm definitely going to give you my first thoughts and feelings, maybe around the 50 to 60 page mark, depending on where the chapter is, so that we can get initial impressions of this book. Okay, I'm really hungry. It's time to do some breakfast, and we might try and read a chapter, and then I've got to go pick up my cat, and then we'll be back. Because if you saw the weekly reading vlog, I'm not sure what way round this is coming out, but the weekly reading vlog, I just had a couple of days away, and so my cat's been at my mum's house, so it's good time to go collect her. But yeah, okay, right, let's go. picked the perfect day to do this because it's looking like it's about to storm. I'm sorry, but rainy weather is the perfect reading weather, and I have been really enjoying this book. I have had an ambience room on, and it's just been so good to sit down with this book, to the point where I just want to make a cup of tea, have some digestives like biscuits, and just carry on reading because I'm enjoying this so much. But I have been productive. The start of the day I at least got some stuff done because I had a feeling that when I got to reading this book, that's all I was going to want to do today. So we picked up Hermione, she's back home, we've done some food shopping, you know, just done some bits that we needed to get done, and now I have all evening to sit down and read, especially because I think it's like 3, half 3 at the latest, so we've got a really nice afternoon evening ahead of us. But I am up to chapter 6, page 57, and I just want to start off with the fact that I had jam on toast this morning for breakfast. And in the dedication, it literally says, with love and raspberry jam, which while I had strawberry jam, not raspberry jam, it was pretty damn close, and I really liked that. But yeah, this is so cute and cozy and wholesome. We are following, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, I think it's Kyla? Kyla. I'm going to say Kyla, and she is a librarian, and we meet her at the very start where this library is actually going up in flames because of some revolutionists that are going against the empire and all of these things. And while she's like, you know, I agree with what they're doing, like their philosophy, why are you ransacking and burning the library? Like, what is this about? And so she manages to escape. She rescues some of the books and escapes on a boat with her and her companion Kaz, who happens to be a spider plant, which I love that. I love that he is a sentient spider plant. I think that is amazing. I love it so much. And they're escaping out on this boat, and they're just like, well, where the hell do we go? And Kaz's like, you didn't think about where we were going? And she was like, I never thought this would actually happen. Like, they'd been planning and packing away books and stuff just in case, but she never really believed it was going to happen. And then of course it happens, and actually she sees some mer horses, so part horse, part fish, as she then thinks about her home. She's not been there since she was 9 years old, where she was brought up on this little island. I think it was called Cowtree, which is this tiny little island, and it has mer horses that deals with a lot of their trade. It has cats with wings, which is so cute, and you've got all manner of different people living there. So Kayla herself is actually blue. She has blue skin and blue hair. A couple of the people that she meets in the town, you've got one that's a centaur, one that has extra limbs, so like extra arms, and it's all, you can tell this is just a fantasy cozy world. Like, I love it. But this particular town is, well, island isn't really doing that well. It's a lot more run down than what Kayla remembers from her childhood, and when she asks what's going on, they say it's because the emperor wasn't allowing his sorcerers to come out and do their rounds. So the sorcerers in this world, that they do lots of different magic, but they were meant to go out and maintain things like certain weather patterns and just do different spells like this so that these islands can maintain and support themselves. But with the emperor deciding that no, that was a waste of magic and kept all the sorcerers close to home, they then have lost the ability to rely on things like the weather to make sure that they're actually prospering. They should be able to, and so they've come across hard times. Kayla's just kind of first being introduced to everything, so she's got a little cottage there. It was in the family, her parents have died, so it's actually her cottage, and so she's like, that's where I'm going to hide. It's fallen into disrepair, she needs to do a lot of work to it, and also she's realised she's not prepared for this at all because she doesn't know how to grow things, she doesn't know how to bake, she doesn't know how to do any of these things because the library used to do all of this stuff for her. She never used to have to leave the library, and now all of a sudden she's on this island and she's going to have to try and fend for herself while not knowing how to do any of these things, and also being very introverted and not wanting to talk to people, which is very relatable. Yeah, so she's really kind of like, what do I do? She also has this very intrusive yet handsome neighbour who keeps just kind of appearing. It's definitely the reversal of the grumpy sunshine, which I'm really liking. Our main character Kayla is the grumpy and he is the sunshine, and we know that there's going to end up being a romance between the two of them because it's just kind of the way it is. But I also don't mind that. I think it's really cute and cozy. I love the descriptions of this place. I love just everything about it seems so whimsical, and I'm really enjoying that. And I'm really intrigued to see where this story is going to go, especially the fact that Kayla's technically stolen all of these books. So what consequences that will have, and we don't know what's happening with the revolutionaries. We don't know who's won that or anything. She escaped out of there way before any of that, so we have no idea. She doesn't know. She's terrified of it as a result, really scared for anyone to find out that she has these, well, illegal books here. Like, they're not meant to be out of the library. So she doesn't know, because they're spell books as well. So it's a lot of different things. I feel like we're gonna have quite a lot plot wise in a way, but also at its core it's going to be that cute, cozy, finding yourself, finding your place, establishing your home and connections with other people. And I think that's going to be really, really lovely and just super cute to read. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Oh, it's so cute. I love it. I'm really pleased I got a physical copy of this. I really like the chapter headers. We have little raspberries at the top. Everything about this just seems really, really lovely. So I'm very excited to continue on with this. As I said, I'm going to make a cup of tea. We're going to sit down and read more of this before I do some dinner, but I think this is the perfect book to be reading, to be quite honest. Like, I'm in such the mood for a cozy book, which I'm finding is my mood 90% of the time. This is perfect. It's got really good cozy fantasy vibes, and I think the fantasy world is so interesting, but I also love the way that this island's been described, and it's like very forestry, and it's just really lovely. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a brilliant book, and having this on at the same time as having an ambience from like a fantasy, you get some like lo-fi fantasy world type thing in the background. So good. I'm gonna get back to this. This is great. Would highly recommend it so far. Based on this, I'm having a fantastic time, and I think it has a good chance of being in my top books of the year if it carries on this way. This is just so wholesome, and it's exactly what I want to be reading right now. So if that continues, I think I'm really going to like it. I think my only hesitation is that because this book is 374 pages long, will it be a case of I feel like it's a little bit drawn out at times? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. I think it depends how much that plot line of the empire and all of that politics actually has any influence on this, or any other plot that ends up cropping up. I think it will base on that. But currently speaking, I'm loving it. To be honest, I was liking it from the first line, so I'm happy with this book. This is great. I'm really enjoying it. I got up to chapter 16, page 172 yesterday, and I love this book so much. I'm enjoying it so much. I wanted to talk about some of the plot lines in this though. So the main plot line that we have is this kind of social commentary on how the powerful love to keep power for themselves at the detriment to others. So we've already established that this emperor was pretty awful, and we've had these revolutionaries overtake the emperor. We don't see see all the ins and outs of that because Kayla, obviously she's hidden away in her library and she escapes during the riots and everything like that. But the fact of the matter is that the Emperor was someone that wanted to hoard power for themselves, and it comments on how that happens a lot, how people will try and keep knowledge and power to themselves and only allow a select few to access this. As a result, this has a detrimental effect on those outlying islands that relied on those sorcerers to come out and help balance out the magic of the world so that they can continue to thrive. And it's not a lot, it's like little magics. They would go there once a season sort of thing, and yet that power was taken away because it was seen as pointless and worthless because those in power did not think about the impact they would have on others, on those that are not in the immediate capital, and as a result, that lack of thought has had a consequence that is making it so that people are almost on the edge of starvation. That sort of thing, I mean, it's been commented on a lot in books, but I like the way this is doing it. I like the way that it looks at how Kayla does feel a little bit uncomfortable in a way that she was a part of this. Because she worked in the library, she was a part of who got access to the knowledge. And while she didn't choose who got that access, it was still a case of helping to restrict that knowledge. And she realizes while she's on this island how much knowledge has been taken away from these people, how there used to be little magics that would help keep these islands running, but again, those in power not wanting to share power then made it so that it was against the law to practice these little magics, and the consequences were dire to those that did it. And so they've stripped that knowledge away from these people, but they're also not going out to help these people anymore, so they have just cut them off completely and left them. They don't care about the consequences of it all. And I just think it is a good comment on society, on the way society works, on the way that we try and withhold knowledge, the way that those in power do not want to share their power, even though they have the means, even though they don't need this amount and it would help loads of people. Is the way that people are just selfish in that way, and that the more power you have, the more power you want to covet, and so the more selfish you become. But I like it. I like the way that's done. I like the way Kayla is seeing the problem with this and trying to find a solution, even though the solution breaks all those laws and is very dangerous for her. But I like that. But alongside this, as much as you do have that deeper plotline in a way, you do have the coziness that goes alongside this. You have this beautiful magical world, and the longer we're here, the more magical it becomes, the more that Kayla is discovering about this island and just how magical it is, from different plant matter to different animals and different creatures that are within this island, and seeing that flow, the way that things should be in balance with one another. And I love that. I love how we're discovering more and more of this island and just seeing how magical and beautiful this island is. And I love that so much. I think it is absolutely wonderful. I really do like this world. I think the way it's been built is just so beautiful, and it does start off slow, but as Kayla's starting to come to terms with this being her home and the things that she's exploring, the more we get to see of this island and the magic that inhabits it, and it is so good. I love the way that's done. Also, we do have that relationship growing with Kayla and the other islanders. What I like about this though is, as much as Kayla is growing, she's not changing who she is, which I think is really important, because a lot of books that do this, where they have their characters and their found family and stuff, they kind of end up changing who they actually are. Kayla is very much a reclusive person. She appreciates her own space, she appreciates her own company, books, and what that can do for her, and how much books, like how integral they've been to her. However, even though she's growing in the sense that she is learning that she can talk to some people, she's not opposed to having friends. She doesn't change who she is. She doesn't change that slightly awkwardness about her, doesn't change the fact that she does prefer that time of quiet with books and how much enjoyment that brings her. And while yes, she can enjoy the company of others, it doesn't belittle the enjoyment that she gets from books and research. And I really like that. I think that's really important. So yeah, I'm enjoying seeing those relationships being built, the love interest as well, and how slow burn that is. I do want to kind of comment on that. This is not a fantasy romance book. This is a cozy fantasy book with romance in it. I was watching Olivia's video, I'm not sure it's the most recent one by the time this comes out, but a video where she was doing I have to read it or unhaul it challenge, in that she had a book that has been marketed as fantasy romance, but she's like, this is not fantasy romance, this is fantasy with romance, but it's not a fantasy romance book. And I do think not every fantasy book that has romance in it is a fantasy romance book. It's the kind of the emphasis on what part of the story is being told, and this book is very much the emphasis on the fantasy part of this story. The fact that we have a romance as a subplot in this, it's not the main emphasis of the book, so it's not a fantasy romance book, which I find it's a really interesting debate that goes around on what is a fantasy romance book. For me, and I kind of agree with Olivia with this, it's fantasy romance if the romance is the main plot line of this. That's not the case in this book, so this is very much a cozy fantasy with a little dash of romance in here, and I really like that. I think it's balanced really well in this, and I like seeing their awkwardness and how they're slowly growing their relationship, but in the most awkward and slow way possible, and it is so much fun to see. Like I'm really enjoying that, so that's really good and cute, and I'm enjoying, yeah, it's just wholesome. But yeah, I'm loving this book. I love Kaz as a character and what he brings to this. I think it's great. I actually tabbed one of the things that he said because I loved it. I thought it was such a great little line that he said. They were talking about the garden of this cottage because nobody's inhabited it for years, and so it's all overgrown and everything, and so they're kind of like trying to work out what they should be cultivating or not. Kayla says, so tell me what's a weed and what isn't. Kaz replies going, there's no such thing as a weed. That's a cruel term made up by people who label some plants as unwanted and some as valuable, as if the worth of a living thing is measured by how useful it is to another living thing, as if a plant can't have its own intrinsic worth. I love that. I love that because it's so true, and I really like it. So yeah, you get those little comments throughout this book as well, which I really like, and that particular was a great little one that I wanted to think. So I'm not actually annotating this book as much as I could, because I could definitely annotate calling out on society about power and the restrictions on knowledge. Like I could definitely tab that. You could definitely tab all of the cozy bits. You could tab the relationships that Kayla is having, not just with the love interest, but also with other islanders, and the way that is slowly growing and how Kayla is growing as a person. There's so many things that I could tab, but I've decided not to. I'm enjoying just reading this. Whether on a reread I decide to tab it or not, we'll see, but yeah, I'm really liking this. Also, this book to me is a light academia book, which I'm so happy with. So we have a lot of dark academia, and we know the premise of those is that you have a certain aesthetic for the book, but also the main point of it is that you have a character that is obsessed with a particular topic, and that obsession can take them down very dark paths. Light academia, you've still got some of the aesthetics of it, but on the whole you have characters who are still obsessed with their particular topic of interest, but it doesn't take them down darker paths. Instead, they're trying to either use that knowledge to help others, or they just have a love for that knowledge, for knowledge itself, but it's not going to take them down a very dark, obsessive, twisted, questioning morality path. It's a lot lighter and nicer. A good example of that would be Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and I think if you like that book, you're really gonna like this. I feel like Emily and Kayla are they're characters that I feel like would get on well with one another, because they both value their learning knowledge, and they're both a little bit socially awkward, but it's just cute. I think if you like Emily Wilde, you're going to like this book, is where I'm going with that. And yeah, I like it. I like the fact that this feels very light academia to me, the fact that we have Kayla doing this research into different spells and how she could possibly help this island, and the research that she focuses in is nature, but land-based nature, not so much ocean-based. She looks into a lot of like plant matter, how to help the trees, and all of these different things, and I love it. I think it's so lovely. We also have the added bonus of a bakery. Most cozy fantasy that I like ends up having something to do with food in some way, probably because I am a massive foodie myself, but I love that. I love those descriptions we get of different pastries that are being made and all of this. Like it's so wholesome. Like, I've literally waffled on for like 12 minutes straight about how much I'm enjoying this book, and I really am. I think it is such a wonderful book. I think there's so much that I can pull from this, and at the same time you can just boil it down to a very simple, wholesome story about somebody finding their home and trying to give back to their home in this very beautiful, magical island that has been left neglected by those in power. Like, it's just great. This is definitely going to be on my top books of the year. I mean, I know I still have half the book to go, but I can really see myself just loving this book. I'll be really intrigued to see. I think this is just a standalone, but I'm also not sure. I haven't looked into it, so definitely depending on how it ends. I could do with more books in this world. I really could. I think it's amazing. I am loving this so much. I think it's lovely and wonderful, and I definitely cannot wait to get back to reading this today. However, I do have things that I'm doing. I am meeting up with my partner for lunch today. I've done some editing this morning already. I was up nice and early, which I like. So I've already done some editing, started editing this video. So that's really good. So I think it will be, once I get back from lunch, I will finish out this book. Honestly, it will not be hard to do because I'm very content just to sit there and read for an hour or two straight because I'm enjoying this so much, and I just think the writing style itself is one that I like. It works. It's working for me. I'm loving it. I will probably check back in one more time before I finish out this book just to update on anything, I guess. But yeah, this is great. I'm having such a good time with it. Lighting's terrible, but honestly I was far too comfy to bother moving, and we've got Hermione sleeping on the sofa as well, so it's a perfect setup as far as I'm concerned, apart from the fact that it is really crap lighted. Like, it has gone so overcast. I'm not gonna say it's gonna rain because I got so excited about that yesterday and it didn't rain, not even a little bit. We're just not going to talk about it. Maybe it will rain because I don't talk about it. I mean, now I've spoken about it, so probably won't again. But anyway, I had a really good lunch. I spent this morning doing some editing, met up with my partner for lunch, which was really nice. And since I've got back, I have just been sat here reading and I have loved it. I'm now up to chapter 27, page 272. I have 100 pages of this book left. I needn't have worried about it feeling like it's a little bit slow or a little bit drawn out through the length of the book because the plot in this works really well. So it feels like you've got some stakes while them not being too high that it takes away from the coziness of the story. You're still really getting that found family, everyone pulling together to help Kyla. I really gotta look up how to pronounce that name. I don't know how to pronounce this. I really don't know. But they're pulling together to help her with this difficult situation. She's also learning a few things about her love interest, whose name I have not actually said once, which is Lauren. But he is a lovely, lovely person, but he's been through some difficulties, and where I've left off, she's just learned about the full extent of that. And I like that. I like the fact that we do have some of those slightly deeper topics mentioned in this book. As much as I am very happy to have just a cozy, vibey book, it's also quite nice to have that added depth to the book, and of course alongside the whole point that's being made about society and the greed of those that are already wealthy and in power, and their reluctance to share when they could make a massive difference by sharing just a little bit rather than being so selfish. So I really like it. I'm really enjoying it. I like the way that the plot's developed. I think it's had a nice pacing to it. Like, it kind of started off a bit slow, but then things picked up, but it feels like a natural how it should pick up towards the end. I'm also liking the fact that even though there are some plot conveniences, I do read it and I go, oh, that was rather convenient. I actually don't mind that because, again, I'm here for like the cozy times of it all, and while yes, a couple of things have been very convenient, I think it just goes alongside keeping it so the stakes never feel too high because you know something's going to make it so that it all works and comes out okay. But again, that's part of what makes a cozy book a cozy book. So in my opinion, a cozy book can still have some stakes and everything. Cozy books don't need to not have a plot line, but it's the fact that you feel like everything is going to turn out okay in the end. But at the same time, it's still keeping you intrigued. You still want to know how it's going to turn out. You're still hoping it all turns out okay for your characters, but you're not in that moment of fearing that it won't turn out okay for them, is kind of what I'm saying. I really like it. I mean, I've got 100 pages left. I'm literally planning to, well, probably do some food at some point. But honestly, just chill here and finish off this book and just have a really nice afternoon spent reading. Like, it's been so lovely to have a couple of days where I've just been able to have a few hours of just cozying up with a cozy book, and it has been perfect. Like, I really have loved this book, and I love how magical this world is. And I know I've said that, but it really does feel to me like this is a fantasy book that younger me would have made up. Some of the creatures in here, and I don't want to give it away, but some of the creatures in here were some of my favorites growing up. And so seeing those in this book, it does feel like Sarah Beth Durst has gone into my imagination and pulled out the absolute perfect fantasy world for me and everything that's happened. And it is just like, oh, this is amazing. Like, it makes me feel so happy and like just, yeah, I really, really like it. I think it's done so well. And honestly, the talk of jam and things, like, I love that. And talking about different types of jam. The main one's raspberry jam, but we've had blueberry jam and stuff. And blueberry jam is my favorite. I love blueberry jam. It's so lovely. Like, this talk about meeting up with friends and sitting down and having jam on toast and all these different, like, it's so, it's a feel-good book. It really is a feel-good book, but it's a feel-good book with a plot line that does make you care about your characters and hope that everything's going to be okay. I really am liking it, and I just think it's so heartwarming, and it really hits on just all the key notes to something that I really love. I think I've sung its praises a lot. I know, I feel like all I've done is repeat how much I've loved this book, but it's true. Like, I have genuinely adored this book and everything about it, and I've had the best time reading this over the past couple of days. It's been amazing. I'm going to have a little break from reading because I'm pretty sure I've been sat here since I got back home at 3 and it's now 5:20. I mean, I've been talking to you for a little bit, so let's say 2 hours I've been sat here reading and barely moved. Made a hot drink, and that's about as far as I moved, which the kitchen's like there. So it's time to take a little break. I think we'll take about an hour's break, do something different, and then come back and finish out this. I may end up wrapping up this video in the morning though, because the lighting will be much better then, so I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I will see you tomorrow morning when I have finished out this book. If someone said, what is a book that makes you feel like you've been seen, I would say it's a book like this. There is another book, actually, it's going to be in my Studio Ghibli book recommendations video that I'm doing for September, and in that there is, I think, about this one and another book that just, when I read them, I feel so seen, and it just shows that cozy part. Don't get me wrong, I love a good darker book as well, as much as I don't want to read them all the time, and I think a lot of those I can connect to, but there's just something nice when you just go, oh, that's a book that just makes me happy and I can connect to in a fundamental way that makes me so happy. That is what this book has given me, and one other book in particular has given me, that I just think, yes, this is everything that I wanted in a book. Like, it's so lovely. And yes, I do love my gothic books. I can adore the writing and stuff, but they're not books that make me happy. That's what I love about cozy books, is it gives me that happiness, that joy that I just adore. Like, it's what makes me go, this is why I love to read. As much as I say I love to read for beautiful flowery writing, for the gothic settings and all of this stuff like I do, it doesn't give me the sheer unparalleled joy that a good cozy book gives me, and that is what this is delivering on. So I cannot ask for more than that. But okay, I really do need to stop waffling on, and I'm gonna go. I'll see you in the morning when I finish this book out. good. Oh, I loved it so much. As we know, because I've actually said that about 50,000 times in this video, but it was amazing. I actually read the acknowledgements in this, and Sarah Beth Durst said how the point of this book was to feel like a cup of hot chocolate. So they had made themselves a really nice cup of hot chocolate and sat down at their desk and was thinking to themselves, I want to write a book that feels like a cup of hot chocolate and maybe a pastry with some jam on it. And I feel like she succeeded. I feel like they really nailed this, because that is the exact feeling that I've been talking about. Okay, I'm not a hot chocolate drinker, but that feeling of having something that is just sweet and warm and comforting is very much the feeling that I got from this book, and I am so happy with it. I really liked it. It also wrapped up really well. Like I mentioned, there are a couple of plot conveniences in this book, but I also feel like everything wrapped up really nicely. All those things that happened in the book, there was a point to them happening, and it wrapped up really well as a result. If I had one critique of this book, it is one thing that happens that involves a certain relationship between some side characters that I feel like developed a bit too quickly. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere, and while nothing's actually been said of like, oh, this is what's developed, it is definitely them going, but we don't even get a chance to explore this on the possibility of what it could be. I still think it happened, like it was a very much a 180 in change of pace there. So I'll be very intrigued to see how that actually happened, and it would be interesting to see if we get another book that's set in this world that is a standalone, but maybe looking at some different characters. I really would like that. Whether we get that or not, I don't know, but this really worked. I think if you are looking for a cozy fantasy, then this is definitely one that I think just hits the nail on the head perfectly. It has all the elements that I have come to expect from a cozy book that I just think works so well, and this really is a book that just gave me the joy of reading all over again. It is not one where you're going to have really high stakes. There's definitely some plot lines that I've said already where it's like, I am intrigued, I am hooked, I want to see how it's going to go, but you're not at any point in fear of what's happening for your characters either. But at the same time, it works. So it's definitely not going to be a book where if you want the really high stakes, if you want all the drama, things like, it's not that. It is just, oh, it was so perfect. I loved it. I just really enjoyed my time with this one. It's definitely a book that is for me. Like, I loved this so much. It's a book I can see myself rereading. It's a book I can see myself recommending whenever somebody needs a book that just makes them feel happy and warm inside. This is going to be the book for that as far as I'm concerned. It's just so beautiful and magical. I love the character development that we go through. I love the romance that's in here. It's just so good. It's so lovely. And yes, the romance is in the background and it's so slow building, but it really works. I think it just added a nice little touch to this story while not detracting away from anything that was happening either. Yeah, I think this was amazing. For the first video in this cozy new releases series that I want to do, I feel like I couldn't have had a better choice. This was fantastic. So thank you to everyone on Discord for voting for this one, because it was amazing. There's actually a few people on Discord that I know someone's got this out from the library, got a couple of other people that have a special edition that are going to be reading it. Like, there's quite a few people that are going to be reading it soon, and I cannot wait to see what they think of it. But I loved this. This was everything that I wanted it to be and more. It really worked. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know if you plan on reading The Spell Shop, or if you have read it, what were your thoughts? And also let me know what you think about this idea for the video. Like I say, the next video coming out that will be in September will be 3 cozy releases that are coming out in August, which will then be all done in a video for September's release for you. So I'm very excited. And yeah, let me know if there's anything you think I should add to these videos or things like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I know I've already said that, but I am going to leave it there. So thank you so much for watching. Like, truly, I appreciate each and every single one of you that takes the time to watch these videos. If you've made it this far, but you don't know what to comment, then I think we can definitely leave a... what do I want to put? We could put raspberries for raspberry jam, because that is a very important part of this book. Or you could do a plant for Kaz, the spider plant in this, who was absolutely amazing. So you can make your choice. Would you like a raspberry or a plant? Kaz was amazing, and I just think a sentient spider plant is so good. It makes me think there is a book, I've forgotten the title of it, but it's a sourdough starter that they interact with. So now I really want to read that and see what that's like, but I can't remember what the title is. I just remember it has a sourdough starter in it. I'll have to have a look and see if I can find it. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please do consider giving it that thumbs up, subscribing, commenting. Those 3 things really help this channel out, so thank you so much. My social media links, anyone I've mentioned, will be linked below for you, and I will of course catch you in the very next video.